Street Cafe in Port Allen. A lot to get to today on Sports Shorts Daily, so we appreciate you being and tuning in with us. Make sure you like and share this video. I'm doing that right now, getting it out there, sharing it. So please go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, like and share this video. Help us out as best you can. Today on the show, we're going to talk about we're going to get in and talk about LSU baseball. The Tigers lose 2 out of 3 over this weekend in Minute Maid. They win in dramatic fashion on Friday in extra innings on a walk-off by Thompson. Good morning, Craig. Also, they lose Saturday, pretty handily to Texas. The game was never in doubt. And then yesterday blew a lead and lost to Baylor, so they lose 2 out of 3. Minute Maid, not a good place for LSU. They lost 2 out of 3 this year. They lost 2 out of 3 back in 2020. Heck, they were no-hit by Oklahoma in 2020. So maybe next year they go to Arlington or change it up or something. Also, we'll talk some LSU men's and women's basketball. It was a good weekend for the men, bad weekend for the ladies. And we'll get into the MLB lockout and what's going on with all that kind of stuff and a whole lot more. Let's bring in TK and Tommy. I guess my question would be, what was the 1 or 2 things you learned about this LSU baseball team over the weekend, finally stepping up and taking on good competition for a 3-game series?
Well, I think we learned that when Jay Johnson said he was going to use a lot of pitchers and a lot of guys to get the outs, that we're going to do that. I mean, long games, as he talked about, before the season began, as well as a lot of pitchers. I mean, they're still trying to maybe totally figure out the pitching staff. They got a pretty good idea. Now they got 12 games in the books, but they've still got some things they're trying to figure out. And, Coach Johnson mentioned several times over the weekend how the guys competed. He wants that, and I mean that's going to be an emphasis, not just for LSU, but any team. But, the errors, and he admitted that. They got to clean that up. They've got 26 errors in 12 games. That's way too many. I mean, errors are going to happen. This is college baseball. But they got way too many errors, and then, it makes it more difficult to overcome. One thing I was surprised that the Texas pitcher was able to quiet the bats for LSU. And we've seen the bats for LSU when me, Ronnie, I study box scores as much as anybody. The hits have been moving around a little bit. It's not the same guys always getting hits, and then all of a sudden a guy has an 0 for 4, and somebody who might have went 0 for 4 the day before gets a pair of hits. So, this team is still in a figure-it-out pattern. They got a bunch of home games coming up, starting with McNeese tomorrow night if the weather cooperates. And then Bethune-Cookman on the weekend. You're not that far away from SEC play when the A&M Aggies come to town. So I took a lot of things away from the weekend, playing against good competition, both at the plate, defensively, pitching. I mean, there were a lot of things to absorb if you're an LSU baseball fan.
The defense is not good, and like I said, a lot of people getting on Jordan Thompson because he's got the majority of the errors. I don't know that LSU right now has, as long as Jordan Thompson is hitting. I mean, and what I mean by that is hitting. As long as Jordan Thompson is hitting over 250, Tommy, I don't think there's anything to even talk about as far as anybody else to even get some playing time over there at shortstop. Because they just don't really have anybody behind him right now with a true combination of defense and offense that can even approach that at this stage in their career. I think Jordan Thompson is a good enough player to where you just got to stick with them a little bit now and hit him a million ground balls and pump confidence into him and have him maybe refocus a little bit more on defense as opposed to offense. What do we know about Jay Johnson? We know about they hit. That's what he did at Arizona. That's what he's known for. Just like Nick Saban was known for defense and special teams, and defensive back play. Jay Johnson's known for offense and hitting the baseball. I talked to some recruits in Houston that were going to originally sign with him in Arizona that ended up going elsewhere. One of them at UCLA, and that was the main thing that they talked about was I was going to go to UCLA because that dude can teach hitting everywhere he's been, everywhere he does, he hits. I think maybe you refocus somebody like a Jordan Thompson a little bit and you get back to the basics of, hey, look, we want you to worry about hitting when you're in the box. But for right now, we're going to really work on defense. And so that's that's my takeaway there. The other one is that we had concern going into the season about the pitching and who were going to be the top 6, 7 guys and how are they going to be used. And clearly they're still trying to figure that out, Tommy. Mikhail Hilliard sitting over there on the side going, I know you think there's something better than me, but maybe there isn't, and so don't, at the moment, I would think Mikhail Hilliard's in that rotation on the weekend. And, I keep waiting. Floyd getting the start against Texas, I thought, Tommy, that we were going to see Floyd break out the slider, break out the changeup. They've been holding back on it the first 2 weeks. They didn't need it against the competition the first couple of weeks because they were so dominant over Maine and, Southern or whoever they played on that Saturday when he pitched. That, all right, we're going to, we didn't need it, so they didn't throw it. And all of a sudden now against Texas, we're going to see that Vulcan slider changeup that he's been working on all year. But we didn't. And he looked like the same dude a year ago. 92, 95, just hoping to throw a strike with a fastball. And everything was up. He got on the side of the ball with his fingers and everything. He was slinging the breaking ball. It was going more 3-9 as opposed to 12-6. And that's just not good enough for a number 2 starter in the SEC. Not saying down the road a guy's not going to be fantastic and he doesn't have a role. But for a Saturday starter in the SEC, I'm sorry. Look at the other, look at all the other schools out there. Most of them got somebody, and they got somebody pretty good, and they got somebody who's got 2-3 pitches. LSU right now is looking for that person. I don't know if they're going to find it, Tommy. That's the scary thing.
Well, they got a bunch of games before conference play starts. They better find it by the time conference gets here. And I believe, that's what Coach Johnson's trying to do. You put guys out there, big crowds. It's a major league park. The Crawford box is left field. It's very close. I mean, picture yourself, for those of you that have never been to that park, picture yourself at Alec Box Stadium and bring the fence in 20 feet in left field. That's what you got. It's like the first time people go to Fenway Park. They can't believe how close the monster is to home plate. Same situation here. So, it's only 12 games. There's a long way to go. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I'll go with those cliches. But, they're still trying to learn a lot of things about this team. I think LSU's a very good baseball team, but there's a lot of things they got to polish up.
I think they've got to identify, Tommy, the guys that have multiple pitches. You've got to be able to throw at least two pitches for strikes. Don't care what they are. Right now, there's too many one-trick ponies. And I'm okay if they've got a guy who's got a 2-3 pitch mix and can throw them for strikes. I don't care if he's a freshman. I don't care if he's senior. Don't care if he's if he's got kahunas, you got to put him out there and let him develop as the season goes on, because unless you throw 95 plus and we're just trying to get you to get 3 outs maybe in the 7th or 8th, and that's all you're good for. They've got too many guys. I think you're going to start seeing more and more young guys getting opportunities, some freshmen and stuff that are pretty talented, and a little bit of almost, hey, if we're going to take our lumps, we're going to take our lumps with the future. If we're going to experiment, we're going to experiment with the future with our guys that that are pretty good. Offensively, only 6 hits yesterday, and that's this team's supposed to be better than that offensively. They didn't have a good weekend. They were closer to getting swept, Tommy, than they were sweeping. That's for sure.
Right.
They were, Oklahoma game. They were down for 85% of that game, and then had a great comeback. I don't know, Kirk, if Hilliard's hurt or not. I mean, he was there. He was jumping around doing whatever. Don't know. We'll have to
I think he pitches again, either against McNeese Tuesday or Bethune-Cookman this weekend. I would think he gets the ball for one of those 4 games. I'm just guessing.
Well, if he doesn't pitch against McNeese, then clearly he's got something going on. But there was 0 timely hitting. I mean, yesterday in the game, what was it, 5-4, or maybe it was even 5-5 at that point. I think it was middle, later part. Cruz comes up, bases loaded, 2 outs with a lefty pitcher kind of scuffling at that point to throw strikes, and hit a couple guys that inning, had a 1-0 count, and hits a weak pop up. So they're just right now they're in a little bit of a funk, offensively and defense. The offense has got to be bailing out the defense. They got the pitching on Friday. They hung around, and finally the offense showed up. They didn't get either on Saturday and Sunday. All right, let's we'll move on.
Yeah, we got to mention something that you didn't mention in the little opening monologue. LSU has another quarterback. As Coach Kelly said, the quarterback room got stronger. Jaden Daniels, 6'3", 180, was a four-star recruit coming out of San Bernardino, California, right-handed. I had a really good freshman year at Arizona State, put up some pretty good numbers. And, the numbers weren't as good the last 2 years, but he's a quarterback that can throw it with a big arm, and he can run the football. He had over 1,200 yards rushing in his career at Arizona State, a bunch of rushing touchdowns. And if you look at Brian Kelly's history at Notre Dame and Cincinnati, quarterbacks were able to run and move when the pass was not there. So Jaden Daniels, a report said that he's going to be in school and ready for spring football, which starts May 24. So, Roddy, we talked about it on Hold the Rope
not
Radio.
May 24, right?
March 24. I'm sorry. We talked about it on Hold the Rope Radio last night. You can't have too many players, too much depth at any position. And then Dan Canterbury made a great point. With today's transfer portal, you got to have a bunch of guys, because if a guy gets mad at practice Tuesday, he may go in the portal Wednesday, which spun us into the whole conversation, and Charlie Hannegriff alluded to it as well. They got to put some kind of window of time when you can transfer, like 7 days at the end of each semester. But you can't just transfer Wednesday because you didn't have fun at practice Tuesday, So anyway, Jaden Daniels, there's a lot of video out there if you folks want to check it out. And so, right-handed, 6'3", 180. He's been there, done that in the Pac-12, albeit the Pac-12, it's still a Power 5 conference. So the quarterback room got better. That was the quote basically from Brian Kelly.
Jaden Daniels has more experience than the entire LSU quarterback staff combined. Not named Jaden Daniels. I mean,
Brennan's close.
Oh, no. I mean, Jaden Daniels has been quarterback for 3 years. But yeah. I mean, I've watched the guy. I remember when he burst on the scene. The guy started every game since he's been there as a freshman. And he had a really good freshman year, and everybody thought he's going to be the next superstar, and it hadn't quite worked out for him. But a lot of times a guy like that with all that experience and athleticism just needs a fresh start, a little reset, a little, new refocus, a new perspective. This is going to be interesting because, clearly somebody's not going to be happy, when fall's over, spring's over with. You would think Howard probably is going to be the most patient of the group from a standpoint of he's the incoming freshman. Hey, if he doesn't play a lot this year, if he gets his 4 games and then it constitutes a red shirt because Miles or Daniels is the guy, fine. Miles Brennan came back to LSU with a little bit more of a guarantee. Doesn't look like that's a guarantee. So between Brennan's and Daniels, clearly Daniels knows what he's getting into. Miles Brennan probably didn't think he was going to be competing with a grad transfer, but that's going to be an interesting battle between those two, because you would expect that it would be one of those two that would start going into the season. Howard would probably be the most patient, realizing, hey, if I got to sit a year and I don't use a year, right, those guys are gone. It's my team next year. And then, oh, by the way, what about Nussmeier? Who Nussmeier, started it, didn't start, but he got a chance to play 90% of the game this past year. He is the favorite of Scott Woodward, the AD, with the relationship he has with his dad. So, to me, Nussmeier is the one that is most likely to leave, I would think, if it doesn't work out in his favor.
I have an answer to Stephen's question. Practice and games are different. I mean, he can transfer now in practice, but you can't transfer in October and play in a game, because we've seen in the past basketball players that have transferred and then all of a sudden they can practice, but they can't play till January 16th.
And because he's graduated already.
Yeah, it's something with it's got something to do with that. And is he a graduate transfer or transfer portal?
Yeah, grad transfer.
Okay, well then that's it right there then.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I want to get to some comments real quick. I know we're talking football here for a minute. Just some, you guys, Chance and Kirk and Steven and everybody, appreciate it. Like and share this video if you're watching us. Coach said Hilliard is fine and Milazzo was sore, so they held him out. Chance, we're talking about somebody asking if Hilliard is not hurt, according to Coach Jay. Obviously, that he was asked that yesterday after the game. LSU did bail out Baylor. Four hit batters by Baylor pitching in an absurd amount of walks. LSU just couldn't make it happen, and that was the case all game long. Let's see. Steven's saying some of us have talked about this in a group, but do you guys think some guys have or are putting too much pressure on at bats in situations, meaning over aggressive at bats? What do you think about that, Tommy? This is for the LSU hitters.
I mean, it's college baseball, and players and coaches understand you're not going to get a hit every time. You're going to leave guys on base. You're going to swing at a bad pitch. You're going to get maybe the umpire was a little shaky this weekend.
Bad yesterday.
It was very inconsistent. You're going to get that call that maybe it's a little low in your mind, but they're going to call it. They called a lot of low pitches all weekend. I watched some of the other games, just for an inning or two here and there. Umpiring was awful overall.
Including the last one of the game, that pitch was inside.
And they couldn't figure out the replay, and it took them forever. I mean, they're just not used to that kind of talented baseball, I guess. But now, over aggressive at bat, that's for Jay Johnson to fix. And every at bat is different. You different pitchers, you got different. It's part of the intrigue of the great game of baseball that you just never really know. And guys are going to get hot. Guys are going to slump. I mean, that's part of the game that we've seen forever at all levels, not just college baseball.
It was frustrating, but listen, this offense, and I'll say this about this offense, over the long haul, this offense is just too talented. They're going to get hot. This is, when you're playing on the road early in the season, new team, I have a lot of faith in this offense. LSU has not had this kind of talent throughout the order, up and down, in a long time. And so baseball is baseball. You have some tough weekends and things like that. But if they can get the pitching worked out, if they can figure out and trust 7 guys and kind of know what they're getting out of those 7 guys, this is a talented enough offense to where they're going to make some noise and get red hot later on in the season. I am not worried about that. You got too many dudes, when you got a guy like Dugas who had 18, 19 pumps a year ago, and he's down there in the 7-8 hole spot, come on. That's just all you need to know. I mean, normally that guy would be coming back to the next year going, am I hitting 3rd, 4th, 5th? What's going on? This guy's hitting 7th and 8th a lot of times. So just be patient a little bit. I know it's hard, especially, it's frustrating, but this team is really, really talented offensively. They've proven it offensively, all these guys before. This isn't like projecting. These aren't high school kids that we think. This is a proven commodity when you talk about Dugas and the top 5 people in the lineup outside of him. So they're going to get it turned around. Trust me. Well,
and I'm going to use the famous Rants 13 quote, let it play out. I mean, our conversation could be totally different a month from now.
Well, I expect it to on the offensive side. I just don't know, Tommy, on the pitching side. Riley Cooper, who they expected a lot from. They don't have a lot of lefties. They were, hoping he was going to be a dude. It's just not working out right now with him. Fontenot doesn't look to me like he's made any big jump from a year ago with the new pitching coach. He doesn't look a lot better or anything. When he was missing with his breaking ball, they're trying to throw it down and away. He's throwing it up and in. They're trying to throw fastballs down and away. He's throwing it up and in. So the command is not there for him. Hilliard's the same guy, as far as what we've seen the first 2 times out. It's not like he developed some Vulcan great pitch. So I haven't seen, other than, Blake Money looks like an alien jumped into his body, literally and physically and every other way. He's the giant improvement from a year ago. Hilliard's the same. Fontenot's the same, or taking a step back at the beginning of the year. So they still have a lot of work to go on the mound, and that's the part that concerns me. And yes, Thompson, who looks so good. If you go back and watch his film from April of a year ago, the guy looked like Kramer Robertson his senior year. And then you go to the end of May and into June, he started kicking it around a little bit. Unfortunately, that's happened too much. All right, let's talk a little LSU men's basketball, TK. Your reaction to the Tigers' win for the men on Saturday, senior day.
Well, I had Alabama on the money line, so I missed on that one, okay? But it was a big win senior day. Kim Mulker's team won on senior day. They got it done against a good Alabama team that was ranked 25th. Bama was hot a while back like LSU, but it was a good way to end the regular season and, get the table set for the postseason conference tournament and then the NCAA tournament because they're going to be in that. So to get the 5 seed, as Chance said, that's really big, and they're going to sit back and then play the winner of a game between Missouri and Ole Miss. They just pounded Missouri a couple of weeks ago, and the tournament's going to be in Tampa, kind of a new venue for the tournament. It'll return to Nashville next year. But I think it was a good way to end the regular season on what was an up and down SEC slate. And we'll wait. They'll have time to, heal up a few bumps and bruises and play later this week down in Tampa.
This is the kind of team that, it's the old Forrest Gump. It's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get. but because they did what they did in December and early January and started off so hot in the SEC, nobody's going to want to play them, right? I mean, whether it be the SEC tournament, NCAA tournament, they realize, hey, not sure which LSU team is going to show up today, but if the LSU team shows up and it's the right set of officials where they're not calling ticky-tacky fouls every 5 seconds, this team, one, when it wants to, can play lockdown defense. And it's just a matter of, can they minimize the turnovers? They're never going to shoot it great. They're not going to be amazing beyond the 3 and shoot 80% of the foul line. But can they play defense and can they minimize the turnovers? And I mean, a turnover number is 10. Can they keep the turnovers to 10 or less? And that, to me, that's the key. Because they've got the talent for this team to make a run to the Sweet 16 and got shot maybe to Elite 8 or something. But that's the things to watch for. Tell me how many turnovers they're going to have, and tell me how the fouls work out. What point do they get to the double bonus and that sort of thing? Who's in foul trouble? That clearly is a giant factor.
I think you summed it up very well. I mean, that's all the key points, or they say the keys to victory. You just kind of made a list of those right there, so I agree with you completely.
Right now, we're trying to project where LSU might be in the NCAA tournament as far as seeding goes. Tommy, the one thing I think we've found is that there's a distaste in the committee's mouth for LSU and Will Wade, with the controversy that has surrounded Will Wade for the last few years and the recruiting alleged improprieties. And so I think because of that, LSU's never going to get seeded the way the projections are based on their RPIs and all the different computer rankings. They're always going to be a little lower or higher, or whatever the term is. If you think they're a 7, they're going to be a 9, that sort of thing. I kind of expect more of the same.
I agree with that. I mean, you just gonna have to take the cards that get dealt to you and go play one game at a time and try to get some wins.
By the way, have you seen the Tari Eason commercial that I reposted on Sports Shorts Facebook? The Eric Gaylord commercial?
Yeah, I did.
All right, so if you have not, go to our Facebook page, type in Sports Shorts. It's the little white circle with Sports Shorts, the red writing on it. Give us a follow on Facebook and check out. I reposted it Saturday or Sunday. The Tari Eason commercial. He's in a commercial for Eric Gaylord, the attorney in Baton Rouge. I said basically on the post, I don't know what he got paid for this, but he didn't get enough. Because it is weird, it's bad, it's funny, it's cringy, it's all of the above. So go check out that commercial. LSU's women, Kim Mulkey got a lot of talk over the weekend. Obviously, people still buzzing around from her explosion last week over at the SEC tournament. Your reaction to the LSU women? How big of a deal or not big of a deal is it that they went 0-1 in the tourney?
Well, it's not a big deal because Kentucky ended up winning the whole thing. And she said it after the game, said that team's been hot. They're on a roll. Well, they continued that and knocked off the 1 seed, South Carolina. One thing I liked about Kim Mulkey, and I was watching when it all happened, and I've seen all the replays, she didn't get a second technical. So she got her point across, and then she was able to be cool. Plus, her players, if they didn't know before, they know she's got their back. Because the girl was fouled. It should have been a whistle, should have been a foul. There's nobody in America that wouldn't say that would have been a foul. Even a Kentucky fan knows that was a foul. So she got her point across, and then, of course, she's standing there when they took 92 minutes on the replay, and she's winking at people and, because some coaches, the game, they weren't going to win. Some coaches would have got a second technical there and continued with the theatrics. She's too good for that. She's above that. She made her point, got her technical. Her players know she's got their back, and I think she handled it like you're supposed to, but nothing she does surprises me. So, hey, they're going to be just fine. They're going to get Morris back. They didn't play her against Kentucky. If it had been a regional game, they would have played her. So they're going to be okay. Trust me. I'm not worried about her team.
Chance agreeing with you. He said Mulkey and LSU ran into a buzzsaw with Kentucky. And you mentioned Morris. The good news for Tommy is that unlike the men where you go from one weekend playing in the SEC tournament, the next weekend starting in the NCAAs, these Lady Tigers are going to have almost 2 weeks off before they play another game, and so that's going to give Morris an opportunity to heal. They won't even announce the field of 68 until next Sunday around the same time as the men. So we won't know who the field is. If all the top 16 seeds, which LSU is expected to be a top 16 seed, are going to host the first 2 rounds of the tournament. So that's great news for LSU because they'll be at the PMAC with a big crowd for the first 2 rounds. But they don't even be playing for potentially 2 weeks. So that's great for healing up all those nicks and bruises and injuries. And also, believe me, Kim Mulkey's going to be getting their attention in practice. Losing this game is going to be a point of a real great thing for her to emphasize and LSU to get refocused and stop, getting all those pats on the back and everything that they've been getting, all those NIL conversations and free shoes. Now they can refocus on that NCAA tournament, which will be at the PMAC, most likely the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and they'll use this time wisely. I mean, like you said, heal up a few bumps and bruises, maybe take a day off, maybe do a team function away from the basketball court, go get a bite to eat or go to a movie or just do something a little different because they can get their legs back underneath them, reboot the brain, and get ready for tournament time. And nobody knows more about getting ready for tournament time than Kim Mulkey.
By the way, check out your phones. Look for a text message or whatever for Kim Mulkey to let you know where to be for that deal, huh? By the way, congratulations to the UL Raging Cajun men, a number 8 seed, advanced to the championship game tonight against Georgia State. That Georgia State is I think a 3-point favorite. That game will be at 8 o'clock tonight on ESPN2, the Hercules Tires Sun Belt Championship game. So the Raging Cajuns, who came in as a number 8 seed, have an opportunity to shock the world, be Cinderella, and advance to the NCAA tournament if they knock off Georgia State. Georgia State 17-10, the Raging Cajuns 16-14. Georgia State a 3-point favorite. That's tonight, 8 o'clock on ESPN2. That would be a pretty neat story. And a bubble burster for some teams as well.
And the thing about that is a week ago, nobody dreamed that the Raging Cajuns would be in the tournament. Now, they got, 40 minutes of basketball tonight to lock down that seed. That'd be quite the story for the Raging Cajuns and for the Sun Belt Conference. And like you said, Ronnie, that's going to put one of them bubble teams that's hoping that, nobody comes out of nowhere. That's going to put somebody in jeopardy for making the tournament.
Yeah, there's already been a couple of upsets and things like that. That's the fun part. I haven't been as into the peripherally around the country with college basketball this year. Been kind of focused on at home. But you're right. This is the kind of game where all those teams that are sitting there nervous as heck are going to be tuned in tonight. All, pulling for Georgia Southern, no doubt about it. By the way, shout out to Bob Marlin, the head coach of the Raging Cajuns. Very sad for him that his mother passed away on Saturday night. And so what an unbelievable thing this would be for the team if they can, pick up Bob Marlin and kind of give a little joy for just a little while, obviously going through a lot. But that makes it even more Cinderella-esque, right? That they deserve to win this, have the story to give their coach an opportunity to, put a little joy during the time. Bob Marlin's only 63 years old and lost his mother Saturday night. Give us a little MLB update, TK.
They've agreed to ban the shift.
Good.
Which is crazy, but they're still not even close to a settlement. About to be some more games canceled. Some people saying it could be a July 1 start in a 60-game season. It's ugly, and then it's just unfortunate for the game of baseball, for the fans, for all the people that work at stadiums and around the stadiums and the bars and the restaurants. I mean, it's just a mess, and most people can't comprehend why they can't get this figured out. And they're not doing themselves any favors in the big picture, that's for sure.
I am, I know there's a lot of traditionalists here but I am one that I don't like the shift. And here's the reason why.
You don't like the shift?
I don't like the shift, and I'm glad they came up with this rule. They needed to, because one, we want offense. I mean, we want offense. There wasn't a shift for 150 years. Then all of a sudden analytics got in. They figured it out. Great. The computers figured it out and realized and put dots on a map. And all the players are looking in their pocket at the cheat sheets. Literally like the Astros. I was talking to some players a few years ago, Tommy. Their analytics guys go out into the outfield and literally put dots in the grass, little tiny dots that nobody else can see to learn where to line up for certain hitters. Like,
they're color coded. They say, and they look at the card. It says red dots, so they go stand on red dots.
Right, and so, I mean that it's just too much of an advantage. And so, oh, by the way, if players want more money, you want the shift to go away because you want those batting averages to go up. We need the batting averages to go up, and so I'm good with that.
Strikeouts and batting average were at all-time records last year.
Right. And look, strikeouts are going to still probably be, high because dudes throw 100, all day long, and just the pitching just gets getting better and better from a velo standpoint and everything else. But I'm okay with this because we want to have offense back in the game, and so I'm okay with it. Plus, I think it'll speed up things. I'm okay with by the way, the pitching clock that they're talking about, Tommy, potentially putting in. They've had the pitching clock in SEC baseball for how many years now? 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. Maybe once have I ever seen a delay a game called. And so it's not hindering anybody. It's not what it is it's just in the back of your mind, and it's there to know, let's pick up the pace a little bit. That's all it is. Let's just pick up the pace a little bit. It's not panicking anybody. It's not changing the game. It's not, oh my God, I can't get the pitch call in quick enough. No, it's just, let's just pick up the pace a little bit, which is good because baseball and it is too slow and takes too long, and Jay Johnson's not helping that in Baton Rouge.
Well, here's another thing. They need a hitter's clock. I'm sick and tired of stepping out after every pitch, readjusting both bat and gloves. Even when they don't swing. I get it if you swing, you might want to readjust your gloves. Yeah. They just take a pitch, and then they got to readjust. They got to pull on the shirt. They got to fix their package. I mean, everything else is going on. And, I mean, keep them in the batter's box. They've done a decent job trying to cut some of that down. But, and then if Mike Trout's doing that, there's not an umpire in the association that's going to say, hey, Trout, get in the batter's box. Not going to happen. Now, if you're some rookie or second-year bench guy, they're going to say, get in the batter's box. But they're not going to tell Mike Trout or a lot of other players that. But baseball, it has changed, and it's going to continue to change. If they play. Ronnie, I don't think they play games until at least June 1st.
I'm okay with the and by the way, there are rules in place, to keep the batters in the box, at least 1 foot in the box. Okay. You have to implement that. You have to make that a point. Hey, listen, you can adjust all you want, but you've got to keep 1 foot in the box. You want to open up, you want to take a look, adjust your package, tighten everything, and then close that other foot in there into the box. That's fine. They just have to implement the rules that are in place. Just go around the spring training whenever it happens and say, guys, just give you a heads up. You're not going to be able to walk out of the box and prance around, or you're going to have to call time to do so and have time given or whatever. But it's the modern era. We've got to pick up the pace. It has to have a little bit more fast-pacedness to it. We need to start seeing the time of game go down, not up. And those are all the little things that don't make a difference. Guys' routine of going into the mat, walking around and swinging and tapping 3 times. That's not necessary. Okay. Learn a new routine where you don't do it.
Well, I agree with you. You got to implement it, but you got to consistently implement it.
Correct.
Do it if it's Mike Trout. Do it if it's Austin Nola. I don't care who it is. Be consistent. And that's tough because the strike zones aren't consistent. But do all those things and try to be as consistent as you can be to keep it there. And I do agree the games have to go quicker. I'm not a guy who, if I'm at a ballpark, at a major league game, I'm not going to leave early because I want to watch Major League Baseball. The last time I went to St. Louis for a 3-game set before the pandemic, I didn't miss a pitch, whether the game was close or not, because I wanted to be able to watch Major League Baseball because I don't get a lot of opportunities to do that.
Craig, I see, Craig is not a fan of the shift. He says, let them shift, adjust to where they are not. Don't complain that they are getting out. Okay, this would be the same argument that, you're in favor of, 10-3 games in NFL football and let them jam and let the defensive backs hold. What's happened? We've made the NFL game an offensive game by making rules to help the offense. And that's all we're doing here with baseball. Look, there should be a rule. Only 4 players on one side of the field or whatever, you can put those 4 players wherever you want. You want to put them all over there at first base, put them all over there at first base, but you can't have 7 players on the right side of the bag or the left side of the bag or whatever the case may be. This isn't about, well, you should bunt the other way or you should. This is about we want more offense, more excitement in the game, just like they've done with NFL. The days of the 1982 10-3 NFC West slugfest with the Saints and the 49ers. Nobody wants to watch that anymore. It's just a reality. Unless it's snowy and that's all you can do in Buffalo, nobody wants to watch it. They want to see 31-28, Patrick Mahomes type of offense, Aaron Rodgers type of offense. And so this is what we're doing with the offense, with baseball, is to minimize the rules so that there's more homers, there's more, offense, there's more excitement.
Well, Ronnie, the thing against the shift, I remember, one game, Manny Machado was the third baseman for the Padres, and he caught a fly ball in the right field corner, literally 3 steps from hitting the side wall and the right field wall because of the shift, and they had him like in a shallow right field and no third baseman. Now, I remember, like Joey Gallo, when he bats, I remember asking several former major leaguers, why wouldn't he just drop a bunt towards third? He could walk to first. They're not going to get him out. And they said because they don't pay him to bunt. They
Correct.
pay him to hit home runs. And he's one of the most overrated players in baseball. But they pay him to hit home runs. And and many batters. You're a professional hitter. You can't punch a ground ball to the left side if you're a left-handed hitter.
Well,
I always said you're getting paid to get base hits too and win games.
Well, you're not, though. When you go to arbitration, they don't go, "Ooh, you've really been a winner, but you hit 237."
You bunted that day against the Orioles.
14 out of 50 times you advance the runner. They don't get those analytics. Those analytics are all about hits, RBIs, home runs, on base. That's just the way it is. Unless you want to start paying people for moving runners.
Again. Follow the money.
Let me see. Kirk Paul saying baseball has to be right. Kirk's one of those guys that enjoys a long, slow game. Kirk, there's 162 of them. It's one thing if you live in Louisiana and you only get 35 LSU baseball home games, but people in Chicago that have 81 home games, they'd like a crisp 230 if they can get one. All right, TK, tell us about what's going on over there at Court Street Cafe.
Hey, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Court Street Cafe, different lunch specials, different dinner specials. Connect on Facebook and Instagram. Jason and Chancey and the staff do a great job. Got a little bar right behind me. You want a little beverage to close out the day. Got some ball games on TV. Court Street Cafe, 805 Court Street in Port Allen. Just a couple of minutes or so on the west side of the bridge. If you're coming from downtown Baton Rouge or near the LSU campus area, you need to take the time to come over to Court Street Cafe, get some breakfast, lunch, dinner. They got a big patio out front now that the weather's a little more conducive to sitting outside. Do check out the Court Street Cafe really soon.
By the way, I want you a quick thought on the way out because somebody popped it in here. I know you had a thought on it. Did y'all hear Bregman's interview during OU game? Chance asking this. This was on Saturday or Friday?
We talked about this. You and I talked about
Friday
it.
night, Friday,
Radio.
Oklahoma.
Sports Shorts Radio, you and I talked about it.
Yeah.
I heard it, and I gave it an A+.
Yeah, Bregman was really, really good.
He did really, really good. Like if they keep a lockout, he'd get a job as an announcer. Because, hey, Ronnie, we got to point this out. Minor league baseball is still going to play.
Right. Yeah, and by the way, those guys are in camp now.
Unless you're on the 40-man roster, you can go play minor league baseball.
Right. All right, he's TK. I'm Ronnie Rance. Thanks for watching Sports Shorts Daily. Please like and share this video. We'll be back on Wednesday when TK is over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood at 9 a.m. Wednesday and 9 a.m. on Friday. Until then, have a great one, everybody.